The ultimatum was absolute. President Trump had issued a 48-hour deadline for Iran to comply with U.S. demands or face a full-scale military offensive. Public rhetoric from the administration targeted the very identity of the nation, with specific threats to destroy ancient Iranian civilizational sites. While the White House issued threats, action was already underway. Israeli airstrikes were hitting Iranian infrastructure, systematically collapsing roads and bridges across the country. These combined strikes on civilian logistics and the threats against cultural heritage placed the region on the brink of a total war defined by war crimes. Then the momentum stopped. Precisely 2 hours before that deadline was set to expire, the U.S. government abruptly announced it would suspend the bombing. Iran matched the move instantly. State television broadcast an order from Supreme Leader Khamenei instructing all military units to cease their fire. 120 minutes remained on the clock when the United States pivoted from threats of total destruction to a sweeping 2-week ceasefire. The primary condition of this truce was clear. Iran had to immediately reopen the transit through the Strait of Hormuz. This chart shows the stakes of that waterway. Nearly 20% of the world's daily oil consumption passes through this single choke point. If the closure had continued, world energy and food supplies would have been crippled, leading to a breakdown in global trade. Reopening the strait was the absolute only way to prevent the global economy from sliding into a devastating depression. While the administration focused on the strait, a domestic crisis was paralyzing the government in Washington. The president's public aggression was failing to hold his own coalition together as Republican support for the war began to dissolve. At the same time, momentum was building among Democrats to invoke the 25th Amendment and remove the president from office. Within the Pentagon, the fracture was even deeper. Military leaders were openly debating whether the orders to strike civilian sites were legal or moral, and whether they had an obligation to disobey them. Without the cooperation of the military or the support of Congress, the administration faced an institutional blockade. Pursuing the war effectively risked a change of leadership in Washington rather than Tehran. This truce immediately froze the front lines across the entire Middle East. Experts were surprised when the U.S. accepted Iran's 10-point peace plan as a viable foundation for these talks. This agreement forces a halt to military operations for both U.S. and Israeli forces on multiple fronts. By adopting this framework, the ceasefire provided immediate relief to populations in Gaza and Hezbollah forces in Lebanon. Maintaining this 14-day window requires a shift from military threats to intensive diplomacy. Those efforts are currently being handled through back-channel talks that have been running since the start of the escalation. On Friday, Pakistan will begin mediating direct talks between the U.S. and Iranian sides. Pakistan's role is now the only link between this temporary pause and a sustainable dialogue. As the dust settles, international relations experts are tallying the results of the 48-hour standoff. The United States did not achieve its primary objectives, and its goal of forcing regime change in Tehran has been abandoned. For Iran, the agreement is being viewed as a victory, as they secured a ceasefire without making the concessions the U.S. originally demanded. The global economy and the resistance of domestic political institutions proved to be the final barriers that prevented a catastrophic war.